The allegation has been captured, and that is why we reported their defense extensively. Reported them copiously, their defense, and we didn't even report level.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. An bayar an karanta da lokacin za ka ce a ga gyaran da za ka
No, we are not meeting. Let us not meeting, 2 meetings.
Somebody came after others have read said that they have correction. Instead of putting the correction,
What's the correction?
Commissioner.
Hello, ma. The ball, we have
What's the difference?
George, you know here.
What's the difference?
Wait.
That is small.
First page na maka kowa ya sani dan kana canja daga baya. Ana initially sign. Okay. Ahora signature na jikoni zan yi.
I want to say that the federal government of Nigeria, led by President Muhammadu Buhari and the Federal Executive Council, were worried about the development in Kaduna State. This is a state where we had security problems initiated by or prompted by bandits, kidnappers, and other criminal elements, to the extent that we have, even as we speak, some people still in captivity. And then we suddenly woke up again to find that the economic activity in that same state is being jeopardized by labor-industrial disputes. We decided that as labor and employment minister, that the federal government should weigh in. We do that in conformity with the Nigerian Constitution, because the issue of labor unions, industrial disputes, prescription of national minimum wage, and allied matters are on the exclusive list and item 34 of the second schedule of the 1999 Constitution as amended. So we will not sit by and watch the situation deteriorate to the detriment of the people of Kaduna State. The essence of government is for government to give well-being, welfare, and security to their people. And so we cannot watch Bhutan's Akimbo, and after the bandits and kidnappers have raped the state, we now have an industrial dispute, which I think to all intents and purposes could have been avoided, to come and inflict a second injury for the people of that state. Permit me to use this opportunity to digress a little bit. Labor is on the exclusive list. Labor unions have their origin, the creation of the Constitution in Section 40, which grants rights of people to associate with one another to the extent of forming political parties, which INEC should register by our Constitution, and to the extent also for forming labor unions to cater for the interests of their members. So, labor is a creation of the Constitution. The subnationals, the cardinal states, is a creation of the Constitution too. The office of the governor is a creation of the Constitution. The public service of the Federation is also a creation of the Constitution. Same for public service of the states. So all of us have sworn to defend the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, from President of the Federal Republic to the Vice President, to the ministers, to the governors of states and their commissioners and advisors, and even the union. I know that when they're swearing in their people, they bring the Nigerian Constitution, and then after they bring their own Constitution. So we are all supposed to work together for the well-being of our people. And that is why the body we belong to, the ILO, had made consultations, tripartite consultation of government, labor, and private employers, the keystone for all of us to make improvement in the quality of life of the people. So when any of the parties throw this overboard, we will land in the kind of situation we now find ourselves. And when also the labor unions exercise their powers or their rights on strike, freedom of assembly, and right to picket, and they take it to the other end excessively, we also will have a breakdown of law and order. So Kaduna State government must dialogue with their workers. It's an ILO prescription, and Nigeria is a member of the ILO, and we are members to the different committees of ILO and the tripartism that is involved. The workers also have a right to go on strike, but they cannot take laws into their hand and go to the extreme. Nigerian law prohibits them from, number one, preventing other people who want to work. If you say you're on strike, other people who want to work, you should allow them work. It also does not allow us to do certain things like crossing into another jurisdiction. People are in hospital services are essential service. Even during wars, during hostilities between countries, hospitals are not affected. It's an area you don't bomb. So electricity, same. In some major climes, and gas, they are there in our essential services. So overall, my conciliation role is by the powers invested on me by the Trade Disputes Act of Nigeria, arising and originating from the Nigerian Constitution, under freedom of association and violence to workers, because 4 states of the Federation, which we call subnationals, had major disagreements with their workers. Kogi State, Ogun State, Kaduna State, and I don't know, I can't remember whether it is Abia. So we faced the committee in Geneva during the ILO convention. And over there, nobody knows what is a subnational. They call it Nigeria. And we go and we are defending it. We don't want to go that pathway. We are very lucky that year that between 2017 and 2018, we were able to erase that stigma, and that was what even made Nigeria to get onto the governing board because of the performance of the government. We came back to the governing board, the GB, after 10 years absence. So situation like this, you might think it is local. It is not local to the internationals. So that is why I want everybody to make sure we accept that we're going to conciliate this matter. And my pathway to conciliating it is, number 1, for all of us to agree that we have the mandate of our respective bodies. The government, the governor have told me you people have mandate. The NLC, I can see their president is here with his officers, so I know they have the mandate. And number 2, we will then also agree on the pathway for us to resolve this impasse. The Labour Center has said there was no dialogue. They wrote letters that were not answered, replied to. Their local chapter, the same, not answered, not replied to. So we want to agree that we are now replying everything on this table. But if we are unable to make headway, the Trade Dispute Act is clear. It tells me what to do as Minister of Labour and Employment. And I will not hesitate to invoke that section so that people can go to the higher conciliatory authority, which are the Industrial Arbitration Panel and the National Industrial Court. I'll just prepare my instrument and move you people there. But we have a status quo antebellum now. Nobody should do anything to upset the situation before your war, before the Battle of Kaduna. We don't want anybody to do anything in that direction anymore till this matter is sorted out, and we're going to sort it out at the shortest possible time, because we're going to put a time frame here for what we want to do in this ministry with you, and if it's not working, I'll transfer the case.
Government of Kaduna State was elected on a platform of change that recognized the central role of the public service in delivering public goods and promoting public governance. Because of this, all issues, all reforms that were being implemented in the public service were aimed at really trying to reposition the public service to effectively assist the administration in delivering public goods to the generality of the people of the state. Because of this, such packages for the public servants were given, Your Excellency. We have a training fund at the state level where 2% of the total receipts being received monthly from the Federation account have been committed for training and retraining of the workforce. At the local government level, in fact, it's a statutory requirement that 1% of the monies accruing to the 23 local governments have been set aside monthly to train the staff at the local government level. We have, towards the tail of 2016, offered our public servants the purchase of the houses that they were then residing in at a 1% interest, one-digit interest rate, which of course the labor will really acknowledge that it happened. And even as we speak, Your Excellency, many of the civil servants that were offered those houses were unable to pay, but the state government had been really assisting them to ensure that such houses have not been taken from them. We have enhanced the working environment of the public service. We have provided them with new tools and equipment to enable them at least effectively discharge their responsibilities. And just mid last year, Your Excellency, the governor approved 6 months maternity leave for female workers. We have recruited 25,000 primary school teachers for the primary schools, which the labor said we sacked 21. So we replaced those 21 with 25,000, and the 25,000 had since started work and were being paid as and when due with no arrears of monthly salaries. Your Excellency, we have recruited 1,700 science teachers for our secondary schools, and currently a recruitment of 7,500 teachers to fill identified gaps in the State Ministry of Education had reached an advanced stage. Our tertiary institutions, College of Education, Gidanwaya, Nuba Mali Polytechnic, Zaria, KASU, that's Kaduna State University, have at various times recruited personnel to ensure that they effectively discharge their responsibilities. So, Your Excellency, with these obligations and responsibilities, there is an equally greater responsibility on the part of the state government to discharge, some essential services to the people of the state. With less than 1% of the population of the state, Your Excellency, the public service consumes about 4 out of every 5 naira the state currently owns. And to be more specific, Your Excellency, in the month of March, the 23 local governments in the state, their total income was 3,610,800,000 naira total for the 23 local government, but 3,600,000,000 were expended in the payment of salaries and allowances and pension for staff of the local governments, leaving them, that's the 23 local governments, with a paltry sum of 10.8 million to attend to deteriorating health facilities in our 255, that's 255 primary healthcare facilities across the 23 local governments, rehabilitate and renovate schools, and ensure that teachers that were recruited in 2017 continue to perform well in their respective duties, and other constitutional responsibilities on the local governments. With this, Your Excellency, you will see that the state government without the prompting of the labor, was at the forefront of implementation of service improvements and welfare facilities for all the civil servants in the state and the 23 local governments. It has just come as a rude shock to the state government and is hereby condemning the unprecedented acts of lawlessness committed by the NLC in an attempt to punish the people of Kaduna State and cripple the economy in the guise of an industrial action. Residents of the state have been subjected to immense pain, discomfort, and loss of earnings when this strike was really ongoing. As every discerning person can identify a campaign of economic and social sabotage when they see one, the NLC executed in a brazen faction deliberate steps to violate the penal code law, as clearly stated by Your Excellency, because you cannot, under any pretense, disrupt essential services and on the verge of strike. And the strike was said to be a warning one. Public Health Law and Miscellaneous Offences Act were all laws, among other things, that were violated in the 3 days exercise. They launched it at dawn on Sunday by unlawfully shutting down electricity supply to the state, followed over the next 3 days by unlawful trespass into public and private sector offices. Your Excellency, you have rightly mentioned that nobody under the guise of strike is permitted by law to prevent people who want to work. That was what happened really in Kaduna State in the 3 days that the NLC was there. So the hospitals, people were criminally intimidated, assault on innocent citizens, coercion and denial of freedom to other citizens to earn livelihoods, and repeated threats to peace, law and order.
Let me thank you very much. In exercise of your power, you have brought all the parties here. I'm sure even from the beginning of the conversation, you can see where the gap exists. Because our laws are very, very rich and they are global standards of how social dialogue can be conveyed, on how issues can be discussed, and how resolutions can be reached through CBEs. Importantly, this issue that brought us here, which is a trade dispute, arose because of the policy of Kaduna State government to right size, come redundancy. And I think that is something that is already in the public domain via a statement by the Special Advisor on Media and Communication to the Kaduna State government, Mr. Muyiwa Adekiye. He gave reason. He said why Kaduna State is right sizing. And basically, as an organized body and as NLC that has operated for about 40 years, we have engaged different employers, different governments, including the federal government. And it can be attested to that NLC is one reputable organization that believes in the rule of law. In fact, to be so emphatic, in 2012, the present governor of Kaduna State, Malang Nasru El-Rufai, joined NLC protest where I was the chairperson. He came with his t-shirt, joined us, and reiterated what I said, that NLC is the most credible platform in Nigeria today to represent the interests of workers and the larger Nigerian public. This clip is already on the social media as we speak. So, Your Excellency, we are here because we are committed to the issue of social dialogue, because it's a global standard. And as I said, the crux of the issue is straightforward. Redundancy had been declared, and there are clear provisions on how to address the issue of redundancy in our laws. In fact, even the payment, Section C said, employers shall use his best endeavors to negotiate redundancy payment. And importantly, before you commence the exercise, Item A said, employer shall inform the trade union or workers' representative concerned of the reason and extent of anticipated redundancy or what you call right-sizing. I can say that that has not been done. And that is why NLC wrote officially to the governor on the 9th of April, that is about 10 days after we received the first letter of disengagement. Those letters are already filed here. You can access copies. I can read it to you. And what is the content of the letters of the engagement? The one of 1st April 2021 in the local government reads, following the ongoing restructuring of local government in the state to reposition them for efficiency and effectiveness and efficiency and grassroots development, I hereby inform you that your service is no longer required and that your terminal benefit will be paid in due course. That is not what this law envisages. The law is very explicit that before you contemplate, you will invite labor to a meeting to say, this is what I wanted to do. This is the reason and this is the scope. Therefore, let us even discuss their terminal benefit. And that will be documented through a social dialogue process. The outcome will be documented in a CBA signed by all parties, which can be presented even today for us to look at it and say the right thing has been done. So we wrote this letter trying to inquire from the government to say, this is the information we have received. Is it true that this thing is to take place? As we speak, this letter was never responded to, but you can see the stamp of Kaduna State Governor received on 12th of April 2021. And we went further because we received all the letters of engagement from different sectors. I think I forwarded copies to the ministry. The Ministry of Labor has letters of engagement of staff. I personally called them. I requested for the number of one of them, KSMC, a lady. I spoke to her. Is it true that you have been disengaged? She said, yes. Where is your letter of first appointment? It was sent to my WhatsApp. And therefore, without this response, I then concluded that redundancy exercise is going on. Not only that, NOLGE officially wrote to the NLC, National Union of Local Government Employees, to say that X number of workers in Kaduna State are being disengaged under redundancy. So also with our other unions. And that necessitated us to call for a meeting of the National Executive Council, because if a national union, one of our 49 affiliates have an issue, it's right to us. And they wrote. And we had a meeting to deliberate and also ask each union to give us information, which they did. It was after all of this, the NEC then took a decision to say that, well, on this issue, since this law have not been respected, and it's fundamental, and we are also aware, the one of 2021, the 21,000 teachers we are talking about, they have not been fully paid their redundancy benefit. Redundancy is when you terminate a worker before reaching either 30 years or 35 years of service or 60 years of age. That is redundancy. Because on his employment, his mindset is that he's going to work to attend 60 years or 35 years in service. But anything that happened in between, outside disciplinary procedure, and disciplinary procedure are provided clearly in the public service rule, which every state of the federation has. If you enter service with first certificate, there is a procedure. That one doesn't need to be announced. So this is why, after all this process, and you remember, Your Excellency, all these letters were also copied to you. Not only that, we copied to Mr. President. I have copies of the letter here. In fact, that of Mr. President is 16th of April, to say that this is what we have done. We have written, but no response. Even to invite us and say, come, let me give you the correct information. That was not done. So this action was like a matter of last resort, because we thought that workers had been thrown out and there was nobody to speak for them. And we have gotten evidence. And that's how that action was pronounced. We have never shied away from discussion or social dialogue. Even in the midst of any challenge, one of the attributes of labor and one of the key pillars of industrial relations globally is that there must be social dialogue. In fact, the law on collective bargaining says it's mandatory. Employers shall not deny workers or trade unions the right to collective bargaining. And Nigeria, as a sovereign country, ratified and domesticated that convention on the 16th of October 1960 under a democratic government. So this is what brought us here. And also, Labour have never carried out any action where somebody will go and forcefully remove somebody from office. Let me correct that impression. Nobody went to the hospital. We have the clip. Even the one about the baby that was oxygen removed. Whereas they tried to engage the husband, we also had the clip of the wife appreciating the nurses. I have it, we'll share it with you. 2 media houses interviewed her. So we have the clip. So please, let us try to look at the substance of the issue at stake. As I speak today, out of the 36 states of Nigeria, no state has ever, in the current dispensation, sacked numbers to the tune of the figure we have received without respecting the provision of this law. And this law is sacrosanct. That is what differentiates between a worker and a slave. If a worker cannot defend his right or have a say in his employment, employment is a contract. When you are employing me, you give me a contract later. If anything is going to happen to that contract later, we will discuss, we will negotiate. No worker wants to die working. No, workers will want to live. But they want to live in dignity. And let me give an example while concluding, Your Excellency. Yes, we had the public service reform here in Abuja in 2005 under Obasanjo that have brought in monetization. Yes. Workers were penciled down. There was engagement with labor. I was part of it as then Secretary of the Joint Public Service Negotiating Council. We negotiated. Outside their package, 10% severance package was added to their redundancy. They received 2 weeks training. As government was trying to disengage them with their letters, their checks were ready. And there was a committee to actually take any complaint. Because if for any reason the criteria listed out, your name was included to be victimized, you should have a complaint mechanism. And unions were put there under the Public Service Reform, Bureau for Public Service Reform. 2 of us were there to represent workers. And complaints came in. And truly, some management actually included some workers' name to be victimized. We addressed that of Gwagwalada teachers. Outside the criteria, they included some people's name. So what we want is transparency in the process. In labor palace, we believe in tripartism. Anything you are going to do, let there be a committee of trust between labor and the government. And the criteria will have to be clear. So we are here because those issues have not been followed. And basically that is why we are here. And we are here also because we are committed to dialogue. There is no state we have gone to that we have not received a welcome and the option of dialogue. There is no state. We have gone to 3 states recently. In fact, as we are arriving 9 p.m., the governor will say, come, what is the issue? Can we dialogue? We dialogue up to 1 in the night. We signed an agreement and we gave up. In Kano, the same thing recently. When he decided to reduce the 30,000 minimum wage, we told him, no, it's a law, you can't reduce it. Implementation of a national law is an obligation. It's not a choice. It's an obligation. It's not a choice. Anybody that does not implement the 30,000 minimum wage violates a law and violates the oath of his office. So basically, Kano State Governor, he led the delegation. Yasin, he went there and the governor welcomed them and brought all the parties to the table, including the State Council in Kano. What is the issue? This is what happened. Our salary has been reduced. Yes, it has been reduced. But I will not reduce the minimum wage. And therefore, an agreement was signed. It's on the social media. Signed. And we said there is no need for the action. The action was to commence the next day. That midnight, that's when the agreement. So even if you have invited us for a meeting and you thought something happened, if you know industrial relation, it's even to bring it to the table to say, this your action is supposed to start by midnight. Something happened. If we are aware of that, we'll have corrected it. That's the essence of knowing industrial relation. So we are here ready to dialogue, ready to look at the issues from the prism of the law. And if we look at it from the prism of the law, I'm sure we are going to find a middle ground. Okay. And basically, that is why we are here. So okay. I want to thank them also immensely for coming, because somebody also may be acting in ignorance if you don't know the provision of the law. But we are grounded in the law because I'm a member of the governing body of the ILO. Yeah. Not only that, I'm the president of the International Trade Union Confederation, representing unions in 163 countries, making up 200 million workers. With the largest union in the world, American Federation of Labor, 14 million. Germany, 14 million. France, 13 million. I represent them. I'm their leader. I'm supposed to be in Geneva now as as this year I was elected as chairman of the workers group. A ticket was sent for me to be in Geneva. I said, no, my house is on fire. I cannot go to Geneva. I've gone to many countries. Before the lockdown, I was in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. I can send you the picture how I was received. That is to tell you that we know the global standard. And we cannot come here and try to bring down the standard. Anything that Labour does, we do with the best of intention. Nobody can sponsor us. Let me give you the fact. If you have fact, put it. Nobody can sponsor us. Nobody. And that is why you see our engagement cut across states. And when we put the facts, nobody can dispute the fact that this thing have not been done. If there is dialogue, we are here. Bring the CBA. Because any dialogue must have a collective bargaining agreement where all parties will sign that yes, we have agreed to this process. And this is the agreement we have signed. That is the process that is known to me. That is the process that is known to the Federal Ministry of Labour. So please and please, Chairperson, thank you for this wonderful opportunity.
Presented by the Acting Permanent Secretary and Director of Finance and Accounts. Honorable Commissioner, I have declared this meeting closed. I'm entering another meeting with the unions of Jusun and Pasan and the Conference of Speakers. They are waiting outside. They have been waiting here for some time. So, Acting Permanent Secretary, when they sign for you, you domicile it. You give them their copies, so they can get to your office and do so. Is the Council office open?
You are supposed to take your copy, you take ours. They want to sign in the press, in the presence of the press.
The allegation has been captured, and that is why we reported your defense extensively. Reported them copiously, their defense, and we didn't even report level.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. An bayar an karanta da lokacin za ka ce a ga gyaran da za mu.
No, only one meeting. Let another meeting, 2 meetings.
Somebody came after others have read to say that they have correction. Instead of putting the correction,
What's the correction?
Commissioner.
The bond, you have the
What's the difference?
Judge Naya.
What's the difference between the bank and
Wait.
That is smart.
First page na market kowa ya sani dan kana canja daga baya. Ana initially sign. Okay. Ahora signature na jikoni zan yi. Wannan ba na karɓar kuɗi bane ba.
The MOU has been signed. We have to give you your different copies and wait for the implementation, which starts today. The ball is in your court. Madam Head of Service, the ball is in your court. You convene your meeting as soon as you leave here.
Yes.
So that we can get your work plan as in this MOU. Okay, no problem. I hope you have collected his telephone number. Okay.
From Borno.
Yes, he's from Kaduna and Borno. Born in Kaduna. State of origin Borno. And state of operation FCT. Nationwide. Okay. So, we give you how many copies? Nlc? 2?
2 copies.
Okay. We'll give Kaduna State Government, we'll give you 3. We can give you 4. 1 for the governor, 1 for yourself and the governor. Madam Head of Service, get ready to receive yours.
It is an offense in Kaduna State. So I will just
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Ko a wani karuwa zai yi ce yi wa kadinin rikici ko sai ce rashin